This is the second tutorial about making gradients in Figma using generator. In this one, instead of using shapes, we're going to be using actual gradients. So we start generator. We create a frame. We set it to 600 by 900. But this time, instead of creating shapes, we're going to create a bunch of gradients. So the way we're going to do that is we will start, first of all, we're going to get a combine node so that we can get a bunch of stuff into the styles. And then we will add a base color. So the base color is going to be some kind of random. Let's say random, we'll get, it's not the best random. All right. We'll start with this. And then we're going to make some gradients. So we'll get a gradient node. We will plug it into here because the gradient node goes after the color. And we will get a color. We're going to repeat this color. Actually, you know what? We're going to get a fill. We'll run this into the, so the fill has a color and an opacity. And then we're going to repeat this. And we're going to plug this into the header. It looks like this color is on top, so this needs to be underneath. This, I actually haven't figured this out. I need to unify this. All right, so now we need to start randomizing stuff. The first thing we're going to randomize is the color. So let's make it saturated. And actually, we're just going to randomize the whole thing. So we're going to have a 0 to 360 hue. We're going to have, and see now it's got a bunch of color stops. We're going to give it a 0 to 100 saturation. And we're going to give it a 0 to 100 value. Change up the seeds a little bit. Then we need to give each stop a random opacity. So we're just going to copy this, change the seed, plug this into opacity. There you go. And I'm going to take this. And actually, I'm just going to run this into here to get a completely random background color. There we go. So this is the basis of what we're going to do. The next thing we need to do is to talk a little bit about how gradients are formed. So if you select this in Figma and then you take this gradient, and move this over here so we can see it. Here, if you say radial, it goes like this. But basically, instead of moving 2 points individually like you do in Figma, in generator you move the center. So I can adjust the center of the gradient, and then I can adjust its size, which automatically moves its other point. I can adjust its angle, which in this case does nothing, but if we go to linear, there's more of an effect, obviously. I can adjust the aspect. Let me bring the size down so it's more visible. I can adjust the aspect, which defines where this third point goes. Now this doesn't do anything for linear, but you can see what it does in the radial gradient. And I can also adjust the skew, which moves it like this. So you can imagine there's like a parallelogram here with only 3 points defined. And then by using these parameters, you can basically move all of the points individually, but also have them linked to each other so you don't have to always move them at the same time. Like you can just move the center, and often that's what you need. So now that we have this, let's randomize all this stuff. So again, we get a random from 0 to 600 for the X. No, this is in percent, so it's from 0 to 100. We get a different random for the Y. Oh, I plugged it into the wrong one. There we go. We get a different random for the size. We get yet another random from 0 to 360 for the angle. And we're gonna make the aspect from like 50, so they're not too squashed, to 150. So they're not too squashed in both directions. There we go. And we'll leave skew alone, it doesn't matter for now. Oh, and the other thing we need to do is to apply a different blend to each one, like in the previous tutorial. Again, it's from 0 to 17. So I'm just going to drag this over here from 0 to 17, change the seed, run this into here. There we go. I'm going to close this so we don't see the controls. Well, now we have one gradient, which is obviously not enough. So instead of running this into here, what we're going to do is we're going to repeat it. Five times for now. The nice thing about gradients is that in Figma they're super fast. It's all WebGL and stuff, so you can have a lot more gradients than you can shapes. There we go. The base color disappeared somewhere, so we're going to plug this in here. All right, and now we can increase the number of gradients. And now we got to randomize everything again. So we create a seed pool, random repeat list. How many do we need? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. So we say we want 10 of them. And now we start our connections like this, like this, like this. Again, this is a bit tedious, but you get a lot of value at the end of this, because then by just changing one seed, you get a whole new gradient without doing any extra work. And this. Oh, and you know what? They're all circular. This is pretty cool. But they're all circular, and we need to randomize the type. So it's from 0 to 3. Let's get another random. I'm not keeping my graph very tidy, but that's okay. From 0 to 3. Ooh, look at that. See? You can't do that by hand. All right. Now, we're basically done. Let's run through some seeds. I think the reason they're not looking so great is that the scale shouldn't be from 0 to, where's the scale? Okay, this is a good time to mention the highlight mode. If you press this, then it's easy to see which nodes are connected to what. So right now, I want to have the size. There you go. And the size is here. So I don't want this to be from 0 to 100. I want this to be from, let's say, 50 to like 400 to get nice lush gradients. Another thing I don't like is that I don't want to have, for now, angular and diamond because they create these jagged edges. So I'm going to reduce this to 1. So it's going to be only ellipses and linear. So radial and linear. Let's see. Yeah, this is much better. So now you're getting a different type of randomized gradient. Look at that, that's awesome. A bit too dark. I think this has too many stops per gradient. That's why you're getting all these details that you might not want. So where's the first repeat? This is the first repeat. Let's say we're going to have 3 stops per gradient. That's going to make it a bit more reasonable. And then let's run this. Ooh, there we go. Some of them are too dark. Again, we can change the randomness, let's say from 50 to 100, and also the saturation. So there we go. So it's a bit more colorful. Let's run through some seeds. Again, a lot of this is going to be garbage, and some of it is going to be really nice. That's kind of the nature of randomness. So this one's cool. Also, look how quick this is. Then you get some interesting stuff like that as well. So the generator lets you experiment with a whole bunch of different things that you would not be able to do by hand. Let's go crazy. We have 3 stops per gradient. Let's do like 40 gradients. Well, it didn't do much in this case. Let's run through some other seeds. And this was just a quick and dirty graph that I put together. I'm sure if you spend some more time with it, you can come up with some really, really nice gradients. Look at this. This is pretty cool. All right, so there's a lot to work with here. Go have fun.